Watch the footage closely. 11:48 p.m. A woman in a yellow trench coat cuts across the dark asphalt. The instinct kicks in. She feels eyes on her back. A figure in a hoodie, trailing 30 yards behind. She picks up the pace. Up ahead, a lifeline. A large man leaning against a sedan. Just standing there, she closes the distance. You can see her pleading. "Help me. He's following me." The man is a statue. No eye contact. 1 second. 2. Silence. She has to keep moving. The hoodie catches up. Stops right beside the big man. A subtle nod. It's a trap. She steps out of the camera's view. That is the last confirmed sighting of Dr. Sens. Meredith Callahan. Police found that yellow coat 11 days later in a remote wooded area. The body never recovered. No charges filed. How does a dedicated healer become the target of a hunt? This is a case where grief mutated into vengeance. And the two men responsible are still walking the streets. Dr. Meredith Callahan, 35. Emergency room, attending at St. Vincent Medical in Columbus, Ohio. She volunteered for the nights. The silence between the sirens. Night shift requires a different breed. She wanted the time to actually treat the patient, not just the chart. She checked in on people hours after clocking out. She viewed medicine as a calling, not a paycheck. Her apartment was a short walk from the hospital. A sanctuary, 4 cats. Oliver, Biscuit, Mango, Professor Whiskers. Books, quiet, safe, single, no kids. Her mother said she was married to the hospital. Peers described her as the heart of the department. Dedicated. If your family member was crashing, you wanted Meredith in the room. She took it personally. January 14th, 2024. Shift ends at 11:47 p.m. 12 hours on the floor. 3 traumas. 1 fatality she fought for 40 minutes to save. A brutal night. She heads to the staff lot. Purely on muscle memory. Drained. Ready for bed. She never reaches the driver's side door. Rewind 1 week. The trigger event. A patient named Rosa Bello enters the ER. 61 years old. Chest agony. Can't breathe. Rosa came from a tight-knit Roma community 40 minutes outside the city limits. Insular. Private. Certain communities fear the system. Rosa avoided modern medicine her entire life. The pain broke her resolve. 3 children drove her in. 2 sons. 1 daughter. The men stayed back. They hated the sterility. Hated the uniforms. They refused to speak to authority. The daughter, Elena, 27, went inside. Elena was the bridge. The one who translated the world for the family. Dr. Callahan took the case. She followed protocol. Labs. Scans. By the book. But the heart block was massive, as documented in investigative programs like Final Moments. The damage was catastrophic. Time of death 3:42 a.m. January 7th. Meredith delivers the news in a sterile consultation room. Just doctor and daughter. She walks through the timeline. The medical reality. The condolences. Elena breaks down. Meredith offers a hand. A moment of humanity. Elena leaves to tell her brothers. Here is the fatal disconnect. Meredith never saw the sons. Didn't know they existed. To her, it was just another sad outcome. She had no idea 2 men were in that waiting room, deciding she had to pay. Let's look at the Bello brothers. Nikki, 30 years old, 6'4", heavy set, a walking threat, a history of theft and assault. Charges always dropped when witnesses refused to testify. Dominic Bello, 22, the follower, juvenile record sealed, adult theft. He moves when his brother says move. Clean records, no history of violence. Both brothers resided in the same mobile home enclave with their extended kin. A tight-knit community of travelers established in the area for over 20 years. Insular. Self-policing. They handled their own disputes. Deep distrust of the system was the norm. No police. No hospitals. Their father abandoned the family when Nikki was 8, leaving Dominic as an infant. Rosa raised them solo. She scrubbed floors for the elite in the suburbs to put food on the table. She was stoic. Never asked for a dime of charity from the outside world. She was proud. She was the bedrock. She was the gravity holding their lives together. So when the chest pain started, she stonewalled, refused medical care for 2 full days, dismissed it as fatigue, said she just needed sleep. But by the time the pain dropped her in her Sons wrestled her into the car. The clock had run out. Heart failure, likely undiagnosed for months. She suffered in silence. The night Rosa passed away. Nikki and Dominic sat in that hospital waiting room for 6 agonizing hours. They wouldn't cross the threshold of the ER. Too much surveillance. Too many questions. Too many badges. Elena acted as the runner, ferried updates back and forth. Vital signs stable. Running labs. The physician is assessing her. Then, at 3:50 in the morning, Elena pushed through those double doors for the final time. You didn't need words to read the news on her face. She sat between them. She delivered the blow. Mom is gone. Explained that the medical team exhausted every option. It was fatal. Nikki asked one specific question. Who was the doctor? Elena gave him the name. Dr. Callahan. Meredith Callahan. It was the first time that name crossed his lips. But it wouldn't be the last. Nikki displayed zero emotion. No tears at the hospital. None at the burial. Just a 1,000-yard stare. Dominic later reported that his brother went mute for 3 days after the death. When the silence finally broke, he had a verdict. That doctor let her die. Dominic tried to rationalize it, repeating the medical facts Elena shared. The cardiac event was massive. Survival was impossible. But Nikki had tuned out reality. Grief needs a target. He needed a villain. Someone tangible. Elena tried to de-escalate. Told him the doctor was compassionate. Said she held Rosa's hand at the end. Said it wasn't malpractice, it was nature. Nikki didn't care about the truth. He logged on. He pulled up the St. Vincent Medical Center portal. Scrolled the staff directory. Located Dr. Meredith Callahan. Red hair. Bright. Professional smile. Emergency medicine. Now the name had a face. A face Meredith had never seen looking back at her. A face that was about to be the last image etched into her memory. In the vacuum of Rosa's passing, Nikki developed a singular obsession. The doctor, the woman standing there when his mother's heart stopped. He had her identity. He had her photo from the digital roster. He had never seen her in the flesh. She didn't know he existed. This is the most dangerous element. Asymmetry. She had no idea she was the prey. No idea someone was, clocking her shifts while she went about saving lives. Nikki staked out St. Vincent 3 times that week, parked in the shadows, watching the employee entrance, cataloging which vehicles belonged to, which personnel, memorizing shift changes, noting when the lot was desolate and when it was active. Visit number 2. He made visual contact. Red hair, yellow coat, heading to a silver Honda Civic in the permit zone. She looked exhausted. The posture of a physician coming off a long rotation. She was oblivious to the man in the gray sedan, tracking her from 50 feet out, mapping her face, mapping her car, mapping her habits. He didn't strike that day. He was patient, waiting for the perfect alignment. January 14th was that night. Let's look at the surveillance tape. Timestamp 11:52 p.m. Dr. Callahan pushes through the exit. That yellow coat acts like a beacon in the darkness. The red hair is distinct. She's walking briskly toward the far end of the lot. 15 seconds pass. A shadow peels away from a cargo van. It's Dominic. Hoodie pulled tight. Hands concealed. He matches her vector. Closing the distance. Meredith senses it. Instinct kicks in. You see her shoulders tense. Her stride lengthens. She checks her 6. Once. She keeps moving. She doesn't know this predator. Just a silhouette in a hoodie following her through a desolate lot at midnight. But up ahead, 50 feet down the lane, a man waits by a gray sedan. It's Nikki. Arms folded, leaning casually against the fender, lying in wait. Meredith doesn't recognize him either. To her, he's just a civilian, maybe waiting for a discharged relative, a potential witness, a potential savior, a safe harbor in the storm. She pivots toward him. You see her lips moving. There's no audio, but the plea is obvious. This guy is following me. Help me. She ran to him because he looked like safety, because she was terrified and alone. Tragically, she had no way of. She believed she was asking a stranger for assistance, a mother's son. She had no way of knowing this man knew her identity. She didn't know he had been tracking her for 7 days, that his brother was closing the gap behind her, that she had just walked into a trap. Nikki stands frozen. He doesn't acknowledge her. He stares 1,000 yards ahead like she is invisible. Meredith waits. 1 second. 2 seconds. Silence. She pivots and accelerates her pace. Behind her, Dominic slows his stride. He halts beside the gray sedan, shoulder to shoulder with his brother. Watching, Meredith walks out of the frame. The timestamp reads 11:54 p.m. The brothers linger for 8 seconds. Then they move. Same direction. Once they cross that line, the footage cuts. That is the final digital record of Dr. Meredith Callahan alive. The alarm was raised the next morning. No show for her shift. Her vehicle sat cold in the employee lot. Her apartment was undisturbed. 4 cats, hungry and confused, greeted police during the welfare check. Investigators pulled the tapes within hours. They zeroed in on the 2 men immediately. If we look closer, the older male was already in the system. A detective recognized him from a theft arrest 2 years prior. Nicky Bello, known criminal. Police had both brothers in custody within 24 hours. But here is where the case hit a wall. Nicky and Dominic had their stories synchronized. They claimed they were at the hospital for spiritual reasons. St. Vincent maintains a small chapel, open 24 hours for the grieving. They claimed they went there to pray. Their mother had passed away in that facility 1 week prior. They said they parked in the visitor lot and walked, spent 60 minutes in the pews, left. Simple. They denied speaking to anyone, denied knowing the woman in the yellow coat, denied following her, denied any wrongdoing. Elena was interviewed in a separate room. She was cooperative, visibly shaken. She gave investigators the motive. The brothers had been simmering with rage since their mother's death. Nicky was obsessed with blaming the doctor. She claimed she tried to reason with them, tried to explain it wasn't malpractice, but she insisted she was in the dark about any plot. She never believed they would cross that line. She claimed she would have intervened. Investigators bought it. No charges were filed against the sister. Under the law, the footage is circumstantial. It shows presence, not a crime. Loitering in a parking lot isn't illegal. Ignoring a stranger isn't illegal. Walking in the same direction as another person isn't illegal. The camera didn't catch the abduction. It didn't catch the assault. It didn't catch the end. Police swarmed the mobile home community where the Bellows lived. They tossed every trailer, scoured the surrounding timber, K9 units, forensics equipment. They stripped every vehicle tied to the family down to the chassis. The extended family gave them nothing. Monosyllabic answers. Compliance without cooperation. No witnesses. No sounds. No leads. We see this pattern in cases analyzed on programs like 48 Hours. The community closed ranks against outsiders. Investigators came up empty. No blood. No DNA. No struggle marks. No proof Meredith Callahan had ever stepped foot in that park. 11 days later, a break. A hiker was trekking through a wooded area 30 miles outside Columbus. A yellow coat, buried shallow under brush and leaves. Hasty concealment. Pure luck. The hiker's dog went rogue and started digging. DNA confirmed it belonged to Meredith. Hair on the collar. The location was critical, less than 2 miles from the Bellows' trailer park. Search teams descended on the area. They brought in cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, excavation teams. They turned the earth over. Nothing. No remains. No personal effects. Just the coat. The same yellow fabric from the security tape. This suggests a deliberate transfer. Someone moved the coat to a spot they knew intimately, a remote location that would have remained a secret if not for a random dog on a random Tuesday. The discovery ramped up the pressure. Police hauled the brothers back in, interrogated them for hours. Both men held the line. Chapel, prayer, home. The coat found near their residence. Total coincidence. Defense strategy. Anyone could have planted it. Maybe a frame job. The family hired high-powered attorneys. And the lawyers asked the million-dollar question. Where is the proof? The video shows 2 men standing in a parking lot. The footage captures a departure. It does not capture an assault. It is silent on the abduction. It offers zero actionable intelligence. A coat found in the timber is circumstantial debris. You cannot file homicide charges without a corpus. Delicti body, without forensic proof that a life was actually taken. The district attorney analyzed the files for months. Then came the ruling that devastated the Callahan family. Insufficient evidence to prosecute. Case closed. Nicky and Dominic Bello walked out the front door. They remain in that same trailer park. They still cruise the streets of Columbus. Witnesses claim they have spotted Nicky at the St. Vincent lot since the incident. Eadling in his sedan, just watching. But hearsay is not evidence. Law enforcement is handcuffed. Doctor, Meredith Callahan has been gone for 11 months. Under state law, a presumptive death certificate takes 7 years. Her lease was terminated. A colleague from the trauma unit adopted her cats. Spot 42 at St. Vincent sits empty. The administration installed high-definition cameras and 24-hour patrols. Standard corporate procedure. Reactive measures that arrived 1 year too late to save her. The family rejects the dismissal. 6 months after the incident, her mother broke her silence. She stated, "My daughter sacrificed her life for strangers. She worked Christmas. She worked the graveyard shift. She missed birthdays because the ER needed her. Yet when she petitioned a man for aid, when she approached a bystander in that lot, he stood stone still. He knew the endgame. He knew. And he watched. Those 2 men hold the map to my daughter's remains. They know the truth. They breathe free air while we have an empty casket. I drive past the crime scene. I park in the void where she vanished. I replay her walking up to that man, asking for mercy, receiving silence. That is the nightmare. Not just the abduction, but that she begged for help. And help was the monster standing right there. Picture yourself in a dimly lit lot. Footsteps behind you. You scan for a witness. You see a man standing by a car. Instinct says safety. You approach. You assume a social contract exists. Meredith executed her situational awareness training perfectly. She spotted the tail. She remained calm. She sought a third party. She identified a potential ally. She engaged. But here is the twist. The safe harbor was the trap. She walked into a setup she could not detect because the threat was camouflaged as a bystander. As seen in cases on investigative programs like 48 Hours, this is rare. The predator was not lurking. He was the bait, waiting for the prey to come to him. Analysis suggests the Bello brothers blamed the doctor for an act of God. Rosa Bello suffered a massive myocardial infarction. Her heart was terminal. Before the ambulance reached the bay, Dr. Callahan followed every American Medical Association guideline. She made every correct clinical decision. But logic does not penetrate grief. Grief refuses to accept mortality. Grief demands a villain. Nikki and Dominic selected their target. A physician who stayed late out of duty. A woman who delivered the death notification personally because she believed families deserved respect. She likely looked them in the eye and said, "I am sorry." And they executed her for it. One detail makes this case impossible to shake. The interaction. Most surveillance is static. This tape captures a psychological break. We witness the precise millisecond hope evaporates. Meredith approaches Nikki. Her posture shifts from guarded to relieved. She believes she is safe. She speaks. She waits. Then, you see the realization hit her like a physical blow. You see her spine stiffen. You see the pivot, the acceleration. She understood. The man was not a witness. He was a sentry. She knew she was cornered. Timestamps indicate 30 seconds between that realization and the blind spot. 30 seconds of absolute terror. What runs through the mind in that half minute? Was she calculating the distance to her vehicle? Was she bargaining? Was she thinking of her pets? We will never know. If you work in the medical field, study this case. If you work the night shift, study this case. If you have ever crossed a dark parking lot and felt eyes on your back, pay attention. This is a red flag. Dr. Callahan made 0 errors. She saved a life. She followed protocol. She showed human decency in the face of death. She walked to her car. And she crossed paths with 2 men who decided that if their mother had to die, the doctor had to disappear. They decided she had to go. Premeditation. They tracked her routine. They waited. They set the trap. When she pleaded for assistance, she approached Nikki Bello. She identified him as a safe harbor. She was wrong. He stood like a statue. He stared forward while his brother flanked her from the rear. She begged. He offered silence. He watched her walk toward the inevitable. The surveillance captures the setup, but misses the execution. We know the outcome. Somewhere between the asphalt and the timberline. Meredith Callahan's timeline ended. In the darkness beyond the lens, 2 brothers committed an act they can never undo. They have never confessed. 0 remorse. They have denied her family the location of her remains. They still reside in that mobile home park. They know the coordinates. That is the detail that should chill you. The horror isn't just the incident. It is the absence of justice. No handcuffs, no gavel, no verdict. Just a yellow coat left in the brush and 2 suspects who evaded the law because the recording cut 30 seconds too early. The system failed Meredith on 2 separate counts. First, when the bystanders in the lot did nothing. Second, when the prosecution lacked the evidence to charge. She asked for a lifeline and received nothing. Her family demanded answers and received a cold case. If you have intel, if you witnessed the brothers that night, the tip line remains operational, as seen in investigations on programs like 48 Hours and Final Moments. Someone always knows. The narrative continued after she left the frame. Someone in that community is keeping a secret. Until they speak. This story has no resolution, just the visual. A woman in a yellow jacket, walking into a pincer maneuver. One man ahead, one behind. She spent her career in medicine saving strangers. When she needed a savior, she stood alone. Trust your instincts. The next time you see fear in someone's eyes in a parking lot, pay attention, because Meredith asked for help, and the man she turned to was already an accomplice to her fate.